Did you know that in 2008, the anchoring bias caused one of the worst financial crises in history, which led to millions of people around the world losing their homes, their savings, and their livelihoods? Many banks and financial institutions were anchored to the idea that the housing market would continue to grow indefinitely, leading them to take on more and more risky loans. This dangerous anchoring bias led to a lack of critical thinking and risk assessment among financial institutions, ultimately leading to a catastrophic underestimation of the risks involved in the housing market. Despite warning signs that it was becoming unsustainable, financial institutions continued to invest in the market, causing a housing market crash that triggered a domino effect that led to the collapse of several major banks and financial institutions. The consequences of this anchoring bias were dire, with the global economy facing a devastating impact that affected millions of people worldwide. It highlighted the importance of recognizing and addressing the anchoring bias in decision-making processes, particularly in high-stakes financial situations, to prevent similar catastrophes from happening again in the future. Hey rational rebels! Welcome to the arena of reason, where we train our minds to spot cognitive pitfalls. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning, where we strive for cognitive precision and free our brains from that mental prison. Today's episode is all about the anchoring bias, a cognitive pitfall that can affect our decision-making in ways we may not even realize. We'll be exploring how this bias works and ways to avoid it, so that you can improve your reasoning abilities and make better informed decisions. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on our latest episodes. And if you find value in our content, please consider supporting us by donating through the PayPal link in the description. So get ready to strengthen your mind's analytical skills. And after the episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family so they can also benefit from this valuable information. Let's get started. Anchoring bias fun fact 1. In a study, people were asked to estimate the height of the tallest redwood tree in California. Those who were first asked if the tree was taller or shorter than 1,200 feet estimated an average height of 844 feet, while those who were asked if the tree was taller or shorter than 180 feet estimated an average height of 282 feet, demonstrating the powerful effect of anchoring. Did you know that the anchoring bias can affect your perception of prices and values, and cause you to make poor financial decisions? In one study, participants were asked to write down the last 2 digits of their social security number, and then were asked to bid on items such as a bottle of wine or a book. Those with higher social security numbers, which had higher numerical anchors, consistently placed higher bids than those with lower social security numbers. This means that even a seemingly unrelated number, like your social security number, can influence your perception of the value of an item. But that's not all. Did you know that the anchoring bias can also affect how we perceive the passing of time? In one study, participants were asked to estimate how long it would take to complete a task, either after hearing a high anchor, such as 20 minutes, or a low anchor, such as 5 minutes. Those who heard the high anchor consistently overestimated the time it would take to complete the task, while those who heard the low anchor consistently underestimated the time. Studies have also shown that the anchoring bias can have a profound impact on even the most seemingly objective decision-makers, such as judges. In a study conducted by researchers from Columbia University, it was found that the random number displayed to the judges before the hearing affected the length of their sentences. The judges who were shown higher numbers tended to give longer sentences compared to those who were shown lower numbers. This phenomenon can be explained by the anchoring bias, where the initial number shown to the judges serves as an anchor, influencing their subsequent decision-making. This finding highlights the importance of recognizing and addressing the anchoring bias in decision-making processes, particularly in high-stakes situations such as legal hearings. By being aware of the potential influence of anchoring, judges and other decision-makers can work to reduce its impact and make more informed and impartial decisions. I have a thought-provoking question for all of you. Is it ethical for companies to use the anchoring bias in marketing and advertising? As we know, the anchoring bias can significantly impact consumer behavior and decision-making, and companies often use this knowledge to their advantage in order to increase sales and profits. When it comes to the anchoring bias, you might be wondering if there are any personal traits that can make you more susceptible to it. Well, research suggests that there are a few things to consider. First, certain personality traits can play a role. If you're the type of person who is open to new experiences, you might be more likely to be influenced by external information like the anchor when making decisions. And if you're pretty confident in your decision-making abilities, that could also make you more susceptible to the anchoring bias. After all, you might be less likely to consider alternative options if you're convinced that your initial decision is the right one. Age can also be a factor. If you're younger and don't have as much experience with decision-making, you might be more influenced by anchoring effects. But don't think that just because you're older, you're immune to the bias. Older folks can also be affected due to their reliance on past experiences and heuristics. It is often mentioned that gender plays a role when it comes to the anchoring bias, but studies have had very mixed results. Some have found that women are more likely to be influenced by anchoring effects in certain situations, while others have found that men are more likely to be influenced by it. It's important to remember, though, that everyone can fall prey to the anchoring bias in certain situations. The key is to be aware of it and actively work to avoid it. That way, you can make better, more informed decisions. Anchoring bias. Fun fact 2, anchoring can also affect our perception of the taste of food. In a study, participants were given 2 different bowls of soup with different prices. Despite the soups being identical, those who were told that one soup was more expensive reported that it tasted better than the cheaper soup. This shows how our expectations and initial impressions can affect our experience of even something as basic as taste. However, some argue that this is an unethical tactic that manipulates consumers into making decisions that may not be in their best interest. On the other hand, others argue that it is simply good business strategy to use all available tools and knowledge to succeed in a competitive market. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below and be sure to read what others are saying. And if you enjoy these kinds of discussions, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content on a variety of thought-provoking topics. Anchoring bias is a cognitive bias that affects many aspects of our daily lives. One of the most common examples is in pricing. Stores often use a high initial price to anchor consumers' perceptions, making a subsequent price seem like a better deal. For example, a restaurant may display a very expensive dish on the menu to make other dishes seem reasonably priced in comparison. Reduced price tags can also be used to manipulate consumers through anchoring bias. Companies may use a higher initial price to anchor the consumer's perception of the product's value, then offer a discounted price that still seems like a good deal in comparison. This tactic can make the consumer feel like they are getting a bargain, even if the reduced price is still higher than what the product is actually worth. Another example of anchoring bias can be seen in negotiation. One party will set an initial high offer as a way to anchor the other party's expectations, making a subsequent lower offer more acceptable. Car salespeople often use this tactic when negotiating prices with customers, by first offering a high price for a vehicle and then gradually lowering it until the customer agrees. Anchoring bias can also be observed in marketing and advertising. Companies will often use a celebrity endorsement or a flashy advertisement to create an anchor in consumers' minds, making them more likely to buy the product. For example, a company may use a famous athlete to endorse their sports drink, making consumers believe that the drink is better than other brands. To spot anchoring bias in yourself and others, it is important to be aware of the initial information presented and to consider whether it is affecting your judgment. One way to overcome the bias is to consciously search for alternative options and to consider the full range of possibilities. Additionally, taking time to think about the decision and seeking input from others can help to mitigate the influence of the anchor. Another extremely good and proven method to avoid falling victim to anchoring bias is to set your own anchor before making a decision. By establishing your own reference point, you can make a more informed judgment and avoid being swayed by manipulative tactics. As rational rebels, I hope this episode has opened your eyes to the power of anchoring bias and how it can impact your decision-making processes. If you want to continue strengthening your mind's analytical skills and avoid cognitive pitfalls, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. But as you know, running a channel like this takes a lot of time and resources. If you want to support us in our mission to spread critical thinking and reasoning, please consider donating to our PayPal using the link in the description. Your contribution will help us to create more high-quality content that is accessible to everyone. So, if you found value in this episode or any of our other content of us, please consider donating. Even a small amount can make a big difference. And if you're not in a position to donate, that's okay too. You can still support us by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing our content. Keep your mind sharp, rational rebels, and remember to always question everything. Until the next time we meet in the arena of reason. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning signing off.